of drawings made by Leonardo showing savage-looking instruments of warfare, chariots with sides that, slash through the flesh of an enemy army.
It is an improvement on the old Roman-style chariot by adding an upright lantern gear with 4 huge scythe blades mounted above, like a curved blade helicopter. Da Vinci's design for a cannon shows hundreds of swarming bodies, dwarfed by the colossal bronze gun, and reveals one of Leonardo's obsessions.
He loved scale. He loved to speculate and dream about things on a scale just vastly beyond that of the period. So he has these gigantic speculative designs for incredible killing machines.
Da Vinci's fantastical weapon designs are typical of his continual pushing beyond the ordinary, always dreaming in the extreme. In his life, it will be a pattern, a part of his code, never be limited by what has been done before or what others might think.
He certainly sells himself as somebody who has secrets, somebody who knows the technology of military engineering, making guns, making weapons.
Da Vinci hopes that Ludovico Sforza, the acting Duke of Milan, will commission him to build these war machines.
Ludovico Sforza is the brother of the assassinated Duke of Milan. He's acting as the regent, basically the effective ruler of Milan. And he's basically controlling the defense policy, the foreign policy of the Milanese state.
Ludovico will hold power only until his timid nephew, Jan Galeazzo, comes of age, if he ever does.
Tu scegli, adesso vai pure, ho degli affari da sbrigare.
I think everybody expects that the one thing that Ludovico really wants is the Dukedom of Milan. He's prepared to go to extraordinary lengths to get it.
But the armies of kings and the cruel uncertainty of politics will overturn Ludovico's dreams of glory and everything that Da Vinci has hoped for. After leaving Florence, Leonardo da Vinci, now 30, arrives in Milan hoping to sell his skills in military engineering to the acting Duke Ludovico Sforza, a shrewd and militaristic noble.
He walked away from what would have no doubt been a secure and comfortable living as the society painter in late 15th century Florence. He went instead to the bustling but military, aggressive, politically turbulent city of Milan, up near the French border.
At the end of the 15th century, Italy is a theater for war, as the smaller city-states of Milan and Naples struggle to survive against the superpowers of France and the Ottoman Empire, pressing in from all sides. Cleverly exploiting these unstable politics, Leonardo's letter to the Duke outlines every imaginable military skill he has as an engineer. Fortress design, cannon construction, siege machines. Only in the very last line does he mention that he is also a painter. Unfortunately, Da Vinci must set aside his excitement about military designs. The Duke needs a portrait of his mistress. Despite Leonardo's disappointment, the painting becomes one of his most famous and important. The Lady with an Ermine. It is revolutionary. The first time a portrait shows the sitter's thoughts or feelings through posture and gestures.
This relates to a series of interests being pursued by Leonardo about the motions of the mind. As the mind moves, so the body expresses the motions of the mind. Or as Leonardo would say, that's where the movements of the soul make themselves most manifest.
Her head turns to the right, as if distracted by something to the side. The animal as well is tense and alert. Again, Da Vinci's code pushes him to tackle new ideas.
He's almost obsessive in his quest to want to know as much as possible about what he's interested in while he's interested in it.
Sforza, the grandson of a mercenary, and Da Vinci, the bastard son of a notary, depend on each other to increase their social standing.
Guardate da questa parte adesso, signorina Gallerani.
È un piacere posare per voi.
This is not what he came to Milan for, but he is experienced enough to know that power and opportunity are always close companions. And the enormous Sforza family ego soon presents that opportunity. The Duke commissions a colossal statue of his father, astride a powerful stallion. And so Leonardo begins to study the proportions of horses, using a small and docile model as his subject.
The distance between one ear and the other should equal the length of one of the ears. The length of the ear should equal a fourth of the face.
Sforza wants a statue larger than any other, the biggest horse monument ever seen.
It's often held that these warlord princes used art as a means of making themselves look more permanent, more legitimate, more established than perhaps they were in practice. The Sforza have only been around from 1450, but their equestrian monument is going to outdo all others that exist.
Leonardo considers the challenge of creating the 24-foot-high statue a career-making opportunity, a triumph of art and technology to last the ages. He will devote more than a dozen years of his life to the process.
It was going to be a statue on a scale so much larger than anything that had come before it that it required all kinds of new technologies to figure out how to make this thing.
Extending his vision and skill to the utmost, Leonardo will create countless smaller clay models and devote the next several years to figuring out how to cast the Colossus in 60 tons of bronze.
Because he wanted to cast the horse in particular as one piece, this would have been cast upside down, he had to dig casting pits. Well, Milan is built in a river valley and there is a water table down there. The head of the horse pointing downward would have been just about at the level of the water table. And if you in fact start heating up the water table in an area, you will create some very serious problems, possibly even an explosion. So in other words, he was working very close to the limits of the possible.
This is the very essence of Leonardo's code, to push beyond the expected, not only in his work, but in his life. And as the great horse slowly takes form, Leonardo turns his lively mind again to weapons of war. Like the horse, his designs are huge, monumental.
He always engineers these things that are just enormous, much, much larger than anything that existed at the time. And the giant crossbow is sort of the poster child of this mentality. It's about the size, probably, of a tractor trailer in length.
The construction is highly advanced, with the bow to be built of laminated sections for the greatest strength and flexibility. The bowstring, drawn back by a worm gear, can be fired silently.
People look at Leonardo's drawings of things like the giant crossbow, and they seem to think that this is an original idea. It isn't. What Leonardo is doing is taking an idea that's fairly commonplace and seeing how far he can push it.
He begins his famous notebooks, an obsession that lasts his entire lifetime and confounds us to this day. It's estimated he will fill over 15,000 pages before he dies.
What did he write in his notebooks? Everything. Laundry lists. Don't forget to get the money that so-and-so owes you. I need this at the store. Moving lists. Sketches of people that he saw on the street who had interesting faces. Notes to himself of, anything he wanted to remember.
Leonardo often composes these notes from right to left, even forming the letters and words backwards, as if in a mirror.
People would speculate, and still speculate, that he was trying to write in code. He didn't want people copying his ideas. Maybe he was saying things that he didn't want people to be able to read.
But the most likely reason is simply that he learned to write as a left-handed child, and so composing left to right, even writing backwards, came naturally to him. By this time, Da Vinci has taken an assistant. His name is Giacomo, a young boy from the lower classes, destined to limited prospects. He helps Leonardo build the many mechanical contraptions and novelties for Ludovico Sforza's elaborate parties.
Giacomo, perché devi sempre giocare con tutto? E dammi quel pianeta.
Da Vinci comes to call him Salai, meaning little devil. The mischievous boy will stay with Leonardo for the rest of the artist's life. And Salai's name will appear in Leonardo's notebooks more than any other. Salai will be with him on one of the most important days in Da Vinci's life. Ludovico stages an elaborate family celebration, which features Leonardo's colossal clay model of the Sforza horse, unveiling it for the first time before the nobility.
The Sforza horse was supposed to be the largest cast statue in the world that was going to, sort of trumpet the glories of the House of Sforza and also probably secure Leonardo a lifetime position in the court there.
The party, like Da Vinci's horse, is a celebration of Ludovico's power. The attendees include Ludovico's beautiful wife, Beatrice d'Este, and his nephew, the real Duke, Jan Galeazzo, now 25.
It's become quite apparent that young Galeazzo Sforza has been sidelined by Ludovico, his uncle, who really has designs on the duchy for himself.
Jan Galeazzo will never assume power. Within the year, he is dead. Some say poisoned, making Ludovico the Duke at last. With nothing to curb his ambition, he will set Milan and Leonardo on a collision course with war.
Siamo pronti, Leonardo! Via il telo!
In the end, it is all about status, influence, the magnificent Da Vinci horse, and Ludovico's dangerous ambition. In 1494, as the new Duke of Milan, Sforza joins forces with France. Together, the powerful allies invade the Italian city-state of Naples. The risky move puts Milan and Leonardo's plans for the great horse in jeopardy.
It came down to the necessities of the day, being that there was very little metal, and the Duke of Milan had the choice of casting cannon or giving this metal to Leonardo to make a statue. He chose to, do the expedient thing and actually look to his own defense.
With war on the horizon, the 60 tons of bronze set aside for Da Vinci's great horse is melted in the furnaces of Milan and poured into cannon molds. Leonardo remains stoic.
As His Excellency's mind is occupied elsewhere, the arts are put to silence. Of the horse I will say nothing, because I know the times.
The Duke, still eager to establish a great legacy for the Sforza name, gives Da Vinci a new commission, a religious mural for the court church Santa Maria della Grazie, to be decorated with his family coat of arms. It will become one of the world's great masterpieces. But to the priest's consternation, years passed.